Happens. Have you ever noticed that some people become more careful around you, even when you have done nothing wrong? You walk into a room, you sit down quietly, you do not raise your voice. Happens. You do not try to dominate the conversation, and you do not even try to impress anyone. But somehow the atmosphere changes a little. Someone becomes more polite than usual. Someone chooses their words more carefully. Happens. Someone stops joking the way they were joking a moment ago, and deep inside you may start wondering, why do people act like this around me? Am I too cold? Am I too serious? Am I making them uncomfortable without realizing it? Happens. But here is the truth. Sometimes people are not intimidated by what you do. They are intimidated by what they feel from your presence. There is a kind of energy that does not need to be loud to be powerful. Happens. It does not come from aggression, arrogance, or trying to prove that you are better than anyone else. It comes from the way you carry yourself, the way you stay calm when others expect you to react. Happens. The way you observe before you speak, the way you do not rush to fill every silence, the way you seem complete without constantly asking the room to approve of you. Most people are used to reading others through obvious signals. Happens. If someone smiles a lot, they assume that person is friendly. If someone talks a lot, they assume that person is open. If someone laughs at every joke, they assume that person is safe and easy to connect with. Happens. But when you do not give those signals in the usual way, people do not always know how to interpret you. Your calmness becomes mysterious. Your silence becomes heavy. Your self-control becomes difficult to read. Happens. And when people cannot read you easily, their mind often fills the empty space with uncertainty. This is why your presence can feel intimidating, even when your intentions are completely peaceful. Happens. You may not be trying to scare anyone. You may simply be someone who does not perform emotions just to make others comfortable. You do not fake excitement when you do not feel it. Happens. You do not force laughter when something is not funny. You do not pretend to agree just to belong. And because of that, people can feel like they are standing in front of someone who cannot be easily influenced. Happens. That is what makes them cautious. Not because you are dangerous, but because you are not easy to control. A person who is calm, clear, and grounded can make others aware of how much they are performing. Happens. Your stillness can expose their nervousness. Your honesty can expose their need to please. Your quiet confidence can expose their dependence on approval. And even if you never say a single judgmental word. Happens. Your presence alone can make them feel seen. So if people have called you cold, distant, serious, or hard to approach, it does not always mean there is something wrong with you. Happens. Maybe you are simply not giving away your energy too easily. Maybe you are not shaped by every social expectation around you. Maybe your presence is strong because it is not built on noise. Happens. Performance or approval. You are not trying to make people afraid. You are simply carrying yourself in a way that reminds them they cannot easily move you, read you, or pull you off balance. Places where this presence shows itself is in silence. Most people do not realize how uncomfortable they are with silence until they are forced to sit inside it. Happens. In normal conversation, people depend on constant feedback to feel safe. A smile tells them they are being accepted. A laugh tells them they are being entertaining. A quick response tells them the connection is still alive. Happens. So when the conversation suddenly becomes quiet, even for a few seconds, something inside them begins to search for meaning. They may not say it out loud, but their mind starts moving very quickly. Happens. Did I say something wrong? Are they judging me? Are they bored? Are they upset? Should I say something else? This is why so many people rush to fill empty space with random words. Happens. They talk about the weather, check their phone, laugh nervously, or bring up a topic that does not really matter. They are not always doing this because they have something meaningful to say. Happens. They are doing it because silence makes them feel exposed, but you experience silence differently to you. Silence is not necessarily a sign that something is wrong. It is not a social failure. Happens. It is not an empty space that must be rescued. Silence can be a place where your mind slows down enough to understand what was just said. It can be the space where you observe the tone behind someone else's words. Happens. The emotion behind their face and the truth behind their reaction. You are not silent because you have nothing inside. You are silent because you are processing more than you are showing. Happens. And that is what can make people feel pressured around you. When someone is used to controlling a conversation through speed, noise, jokes, or constant emotional reaction, your calm silence interrupts that pattern. Happens. You do not immediately reward their words with approval. You do not instantly smooth over the awkwardness for them. You do not give them quick emotional signals just so they can relax. Happens. Instead, you allow the moment to breathe. For many people, that feels like losing control. They can no longer predict what you are thinking. They can no longer use fast talking to distract from what they truly feel. Happens. They can no longer hide behind noise. Your silence creates a mirror, and in that mirror, they may start to notice their own nervousness, their own need to be liked, and their own discomfort with stillness. Happens. This does not mean you are trying to dominate the conversation. It does not mean you are playing mind games or purposely making people uncomfortable. It simply means you are not afraid of the space between words. Happens. And in a world where many people use noise to escape themselves, a person who can remain calm in silence will always feel powerful. Not because they are trying to control others, but because they are not easily controlled by the pressure to react. Happens. And this same calmness becomes even more noticeable when drama enters the room. Because in many social groups, drama is not just drama, it is a hidden way people bond with each other. Happens. They complain about the same boss, they gossip about the same person, they react with the same anger to the same situation, they laugh at the same rumors, repeat the same stories. Happens. And slowly create a feeling of belonging through shared emotional noise. To most people, this feels normal. When everyone is reacting together, it creates a kind of temporary safety. Happens. If I am angry and you are angry too, then we are on the same side. If I dislike someone and you agree with me, then I feel supported. If I gossip and you join in, then I know you are part of the circle. Happens. Drama becomes a shortcut to connection because it does not require depth, honesty, or real vulnerability. It only requires the same reaction, but you do not move that way when something dramatic happens. Happens. You do not immediately throw your emotions into the crowd. You listen, you observe, you wait before deciding what you actually think. While others rush to judge, you step back. Happens. While others add more fuel to the fire, you stay quiet enough to see what is really happening. And because you do not automatically join the emotional wave, people may start to feel uncertain around you. Happens. They may wonder, are they on our side? Do they agree with us? Are they judging us for reacting this way? Why are they so quiet? Your neutrality becomes difficult for them to read. Happens. Not because you are trying to be mysterious, but because you are not giving them the emotional confirmation they are used to receiving. You are not laughing just because everyone else is laughing. Happens. You are not angry just because everyone else is angry. You are not choosing a side just because the room has already chosen one, and this can make you seem intimidating. A person who cannot be pulled into drama is harder to influence. Happens. People cannot easily use gossip to win your approval. They cannot use outrage to control your opinion. They cannot use group pressure to force you into a reaction that does not feel true to you. Happens. Your emotional boundaries make you difficult to manipulate because you do not hand your nervous system over to every story, rumor, or conflict around you. But people may misunderstand this. Happens. They may call you cold because you do not react loudly. They may call you arrogant because you do not join the group emotion. They may call you distant because you refuse to build connection through negativity. Happens. But in reality, you may simply have a clearer relationship with your own energy. You know that not every problem deserves your emotional involvement. Not every rumor deserves your attention. Happens. Not every conflict needs your voice, and not every group reaction deserves your agreement. This is why your presence can unsettle people who are used to emotional chaos. You remind them that reaction is not the same as truth. Happens. You remind them that belonging does not have to be built on gossip. You remind them that a person can stand near the crowd without being swallowed by it, and sometimes happens. That kind of independence feels threatening to people who only feel secure when everyone around them reacts the same way. So when you stay out of drama, you are not being heartless. Happens. You are not being superior. You are simply refusing to let other people's emotional storms become your inner weather. And in a world where so many people are easily pulled by noise, happens. A person who can remain calm, clear, and emotionally independent will always be hard to control. Happens. And once you stop letting yourself get pulled into every emotional storm around you, something else begins to happen. You start seeing more clearly, because when you are not busy trying to be the loudest person in the room, happens. When you are not rushing to prove that you belong, and when you are not wasting energy reacting to every piece of drama, you have more space to observe what everyone else is missing. Happens. You notice the small things. The way someone's smile disappears a little too quickly. The slight pause before they answer a simple question. The way their voice becomes softer when they are hiding discomfort. Happens. The way their body turns away even while their words say they are fine. You notice when someone laughs because they are truly amused, and when they laugh only because the room expects them to. Happens. You notice the difference between confidence and performance, between kindness and strategy, between honesty and a carefully polished version of the truth. Most people do not notice these details because they are too busy managing how they appear. Happens. They are thinking about what to say next, how to sound interesting, how to look calm, how to be accepted, how to protect the image they want others to see. But because you are not constantly chasing the spotlight, happens. Your attention is free. You are watching the room while everyone else is performing inside it. And this is where your presence can become uncomfortable for some people. You do not have to accuse them. Happens. You do not have to expose them. You do not even have to say anything sharp. But when someone is trying very hard to maintain a mask, being near a person who quietly notices too much can feel threatening. Happens. They may feel as if you can sense the gap between what they are showing and what they are actually feeling. This does not mean you are judging them in many cases. Happens. You are simply reading the emotional atmosphere, the way some people read words on a page. You see tension in the shoulders, you hear insecurity in the tone, you notice hesitation in the eyes. Happens. You feel when a conversation has something hidden underneath it. Your mind naturally collects these signals and connects them before you even fully explain it to yourself, but for the person across from you. Happens. This can feel like being seen before they are ready to be seen. Their mask no longer feels completely safe, their performance no longer feels completely invisible, and that can make them nervous. Happens. Defensive or strangely careful around you. Not because you are doing anything cruel, but because your awareness makes it harder for them to hide from themselves. Happens. This is why people may call you intimidating even when you have not said anything harsh. Sometimes your quiet observation reveals more than loud criticism ever could. You are not trying to tear anyone apart. Happens. You are not trying to prove that you know more than them. You are simply present enough to notice what is real. And for people who are used to surviving behind a carefully controlled image, happens. That kind of presence can feel like a light shining on places they wanted to keep in the dark. Happens. And this ability to see what is real often leads to one more quality that makes your presence hard to shake. You do not only observe clearly, you also know where your boundaries are. Happens. You know when something feels wrong. You know when a request is too much. You know when someone is trying to pull you into a version of yourself that exists only to keep them comfortable. Happens. For many people, this is difficult to understand because they are used to softening every no. They apologize too much, they explain too much, they give excuses they do not even believe. Happens. They say maybe when they already know the answer is no. Not because they are weak, but because they are afraid of disappointing others. They are afraid of being disliked. They are afraid that one clear boundary will make them look selfish. Happens. Cold or difficult. But you may have reached a point where you no longer feel the need to decorate your limits. When something crosses your time, your energy, your values, or your peace. Happens. You can step back without turning it into a performance. You do not need to attack anyone. You do not need to prove that you are right. You simply understand that not everything deserves access to you. Happens. And this can make certain people uncomfortable, especially those who are used to pushing, negotiating, guilt-tripping, or using emotional pressure to get what they want when they meet someone with unclear boundaries. Happens. They know where to press. They know how to make that person feel guilty. They know how to turn silence into pressure and kindness into obligation. But when they meet you, those usual methods do not work as easily. Happens. Your no has weight. Your calm has structure. Your silence does not automatically mean permission. This is why people may call you stubborn when you are simply firm. They may call you cold when you are simply protecting your energy. Happens. They may call you arrogant when you are simply not begging to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your boundaries feel intimidating because they reveal something many people avoid. Happens. Not everyone can be moved by guilt, approval, rejection, or emotional chaos, and underneath that boundary is something even deeper. You do not depend completely on validation to know your worth. Happens. Of course, you still appreciate love, respect, and recognition. You are still human. But your entire identity does not collapse when someone disapproves of you. You do not need the whole room to clap before you believe your voice matters. Happens. You do not need to be constantly chosen, praised, or accepted before you feel real. That kind of inner stability can be confusing to people who live through external approval. Happens. If their self-worth depends on being liked, your independence may feel like a threat. If they shape themselves around other people's reactions, your self-possession may make them uncomfortable. Happens. If they are used to controlling others with approval and rejection, your calm distance may make them feel powerless. But this does not mean you are emotionless. It does not mean you are hard. Happens. Cruel or impossible to reach. It may simply mean you have stopped handing your center to everyone who has an opinion about you. You have learned that peace is more important than being liked by everyone. Happens. You have learned that clarity is more valuable than social performance. You have learned that a life built on constant approval will always feel unstable. So if people sometimes experience you as intimidating, happens. Maybe it is not because you are trying to scare them. Maybe it is because you are calm in places where they expect panic, clear in places where they expect confusion, firm in places where they expect negotiation. Happens. And whole in places where they expect neediness. You are not necessarily cold. You are not necessarily distant. You may simply be a person with boundaries, self-respect. Happens. And an inner value that does not disappear just because someone else refuses to recognize it.